Because this is new to quite a lot of you, this delegates and this observer pattern implemented using delegates in C#, I just want to talk you through quickly again what's going on, and then I am going to talk about the event keyword. So let's remind ourselves quite what happens here. So in the camera raycaster as a starting point, remember that we declare ourselves a new delegate type called onLayerChange. Then we immediately instantiate an observer set, a set of observers called LayerChangeObservers. Then later on down in here, we say that if the layer has changed, then we're going to broadcast to all of the observers by calling this observer set like a method. So it's got a lowercase in the front, but it's called like a method because it's a data object. It's a function pointer, actually. All right, so that's what happens there. Then over in cursor affordances, we register ourselves like this. We get the camera raycaster. We say camera raycaster.LayerChangeObservers, that very property we just talked about, plus equals. We add ourselves a new function and say I want to add a new delegate to that list, and it's in this class it's called onLayerChanged, and then onLayerChange comes and does its thing, all right, printing out as it goes. Cool, fine. Risk. The risk is that you do this, accidentally say equals, for example, and then any other components stuff will have just got nuked because you have replaced the list of observers with your function pointer here, rather than adding to the set of observers. I use the word set and list independently. It's a list, but it's really a set. I mean, why do we care? Because we could be adding multiple things in one go. It's strictly a set, but hey, you get the idea. It's just a set of layer change observers. So what do we want to do? We want to, the first item of this video, we want to talk about why we need to protect our delegates set. Well, we can kind of see that. We actually saw it in the last video. You can accidentally have a component replace the entire list. Okay, so we're going to use the event keyword in C#. Let's look at that. So the way that we do this is over here in camera raycaster.cs. When we instantiate our observer set, we say that this thing is an event, public event on layer change, and then this is our list of layer change observers. A lot of people give a different naming convention to this, but I'm doing this because I think it makes it easier to understand what's going on the first time round. If we say event here and save this script, what happens over in cursor affordant? Let's see. If we were to try and accidentally change the entire set of layer change observers to this guy here, what's it saying? The event camera raycaster.LayerChangeObservers can only appear on the left-hand side of a plus equals or minus equals, except when used from within the type camera raycaster. Okay, so inside camera raycaster we're not protected, but outside we are, and it's not going to let us replace that list. We can only append to it or remove from it. So this is registration, and minus equals would be deregistration. Why, by the way, are we not deregistering? Well, in C++ you'd need to be very careful to deregister these things, but in C# we're not so fussed, because the only sensible time to deregister for something like this, it's going to be running for the whole game, would be when the game ends, possibly when you leave the scene. But if we have that problem, we'll come across it. I will just make myself a note and just say to do, consider deregistering listener or layer change observers or on layer changed on leaving the game, all game scenes. So basically, if you went out to the menu system, you may not want to still have this thing registered, but in general, in C#, it's doing garbage collection for you. It's tidying up for you. Not so important to deregister, but it is important to think about deregistering as a general programming concept. So we're thinking about registering, we're thinking about deregistering. Anyway, so putting event in there provides that level of protection for us. So what I want you to do in future is to always say public event on layer change, or public event, whatever the name of your delegate is. Interestingly, the span of this on layer change is very small. You see, we use the name there, and then it's just used once again there, and then from there on, it's always referred to as the instance. Now, we could rename that instance. Instead of layer change observers, we could try calling it like we'd normally call all variables. We could just call it on layer change. Let's see how that reads. So it reads fine here, public event on layer change on layer change. Let's go see how it looks in other places. On layer change, yeah, looks okay there to me. In affordances, camera raycaster.onLayer change, sort of, plus equals on layer changed. Yeah, which is our method name. So that's fine. We can leave it on layer change, a bit more conventional, and it looks more like we declare a normal variable here. So it's up to you how you name this. Name it in a way that makes sense to you and helps you understand what's going on. Put that event keyword in, it helps protect you. Now, we're going to talk about adding a parameter to our delegate functions. What do I mean by that? Well, Remember on this slide over here, we talked about the camera raycaster not only calling on layer change like it is, but it can actually pass data as well. Rather than the cursor affordance having to ask the camera raycaster, it can send the new layer through. Let me show you how we modify things for the passing of a parameter, because that will kind of round out your knowledge of how these delegates work quite nicely. So I'm actually going to close Visual Studio because I have it open twice and I don't like the look of that. And I'm just going to open just one instance of Visual Studio so I know where I am. Great, so we start in the camera raycaster where the thing is declared in the first place. We're going to change the signature, this being the signature here, void on layer change. We're now just going to say that this is going to take in or pass through a layer called, let's say, new layer, to be clear that when you call on layer change, you can now pass a new layer. Now, if we save that, we should get some errors. For a start down here, it says there is no argument given. In the brackets here, the argument, remember it's a parameter when you define or declare something and an argument down here when you call it. There is no argument given that corresponds to the required formal parameter new layer. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to send this layer. Okay, the layer variable there. All right, so from in here we should be good. Now we're going to have a problem in cursor affordances again. It's saying, all right, let's try building because I'm not getting an error in Visual Studio. Okay, what's the first error we get? Cursor affordance line 18. Okay, right where we are. Now what's the problem? Let's look at the error. No overlay load for on layer change that matches the delegate camera raycaster.onLayer change. What that's saying is that the signature of this void with a parameter, a layer parameter, is different to the signature of this here, the on layer changed. Okay, because we need to come in here and this method needs to have a layer, new layer. Doesn't matter what you call new layer, you can call it donkey if you like. I'm going to call it new layer just to keep things simple. Okay, so a new layer comes in. Now we no longer need to. In fact, I'm going to let you finish this challenge because at this stage you may be glazing over. I caught you trying to fall asleep. So what I want you to do is brush yourself off, wake up, sit up in your chair and have a go at the challenge because I want you to finish this. Very, very simple end to it. Protect your delegates with event if you haven't already done that. Send the new layer as an argument. I've just started doing that. So if you weren't watching, you can go back now and recap on that last bit. And then finally, stop reading camera raycaster.layer hit. And you'll find that you don't need that anymore with this argument coming in, and share your experience with us over in the forum of how all these delegates are going. Are they settling in your mind or just exploding your mind? How are you feeling about it? And I'll see you in a minute. All right, welcome back. Good to have you back. So obviously this bit's fairly trivial. We have new layer coming in here as a argument, so we can simply just use it, switch on new layer there. Okay, now let's see if we have any other remaining issues when we try and play. No, we don't. Cursor over new layer, and crucially the game actually works. We have no drifting. We have it logging that it won't move to the enemy because that's the subject of the next section. But good, we've got rid of the drift, we've set up a decent architecture. Arguably, if you wanted to, you could start thinking about taking these layer hit getters out of the camera raycaster, but I'm leaving them in because our player movement is still using those, and there's no reason for it to not use those right now, because remember, it only queries these getters when you click the button. Remember, you click the button in player movement and it says, hey, what's the layer I've just clicked on? This is an okay way. So we can run the two together. We can send information out via the on layer change delegate, and we can also still leave these getters here. So we see the two paradigms next to each other, which is fine. So I think that's everything I had on my lesson plan. So thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope that layers are slowly but surely becoming, delegates are slowly but and surely coming clearer to you.